The stars hung silent in the darkness of Sector 7 Alpha, just as they had for over 200 years. Commander Zethkara pressed his scaled hand against the viewing port of his patrol ship, watching the empty void stretch endlessly before him. The reptilian officer had made this same route dozens of times, and it never changed. Nothing lived here. Nothing moved here. The Galactic Council had declared this region dead space long before he was hatched. His ship, the Swift Current, moved slowly along the sector boundary. The sleek vessel carried the blue and silver markings of the Vraxian patrol fleet, one of the most respected military forces in known space. Zethkara took pride in his duty, even if it meant endless hours staring at empty darkness. "Commander," called his sensor operator, a young Vraxian named Kelth. "I'm picking up some strange readings." Zethkara turned from the viewing port. His yellow eyes focused on the display screens that covered the bridge walls. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures, sir. Very faint, but they're coming from deep inside the dead zone." Kelth's clawed fingers moved across his controls. "The computer says it might be natural stellar activity, but the pattern seems odd." The commander moved to stand behind his operator. On the screen, tiny blips of light appeared and disappeared in the heart of Sector 7 Alpha. The readings were so weak that they barely registered on their instruments. Most ships would have missed them completely. "How far into the sector?" Zethkara asked. "About 50 light-years from the boundary, sir. Right in the middle of the asteroid fields." Zethkara studied the display. Regulations were clear about dead sectors. No ship was allowed to enter without special permission from the Galactic Council. These regions had been marked as dangerous or worthless for good reasons. Some contained unstable stars that might explode without warning. Others had gravitational fields that could tear apart any vessel foolish enough to venture inside. "Mark the location and file a report," he ordered. "Command can decide if it's worth investigating." "Yes, sir." Kelth began typing the report. "Should we move closer to get better readings?" "Absolutely not. The boundary exists for our protection." Zethkara returned to his position. "We follow orders, and orders say to stay out." The patrol continued in silence. Neither officer knew that similar reports had been filed by dozens of other ships over the past few months. Energy readings in dead sectors. Strange gravitational waves where none should exist. Ships that went missing near the boundaries of empty space, vanishing without even sending distress signals. Far across the galaxy, in the crystal spires of the Galactic Council headquarters, these reports gathered dust in computer files. The Council had more pressing matters to deal with. Trade disputes between the mining guilds, border tensions with the aggressive Kralthan Empire, the ongoing peace talks with 3 newly discovered species. A few dead sectors showing energy readings hardly seemed important. Space was full of natural phenomena that could fool sensors. Solar flares, quantum storms, and collapsing black holes all produced similar signatures. The galaxy was vast, and the Council couldn't investigate every anomaly, but the reports kept coming. Captain Morvac of the freight hauler Steady Profit reported losing contact with 2 escort ships near Sector 12 Gamma. The vessels had been there one moment, gone the next. No explosions, no debris, just empty space where they used to be. Dr. Yellis, a cetacean scientist studying dark matter, detected massive gravitational disturbances in Sector 3 Delta. Her instruments showed something large moving through the void, but visual scans revealed nothing. A civilian transport? Reported seeing lights in the darkness of Sector 15 Omega. The passengers described them as stars that moved like ships, but when patrol vessels investigated, they found only asteroids and cosmic dust. Each incident was filed away, marked as unexplained natural phenomena or sensor malfunction. The galaxy was huge, and strange things happened all the time. The Council had learned not to panic at every mystery, but in the deepest parts of those dead sectors, things were stirring that the galaxy had forgotten. Things that had been waiting, planning, and growing stronger while the rest of the universe assumed they were gone forever. Sector 7. Alpha held secrets older than the current Galactic Council. Before the Great Alliance of Species, before the peace treaties and trade agreements, this region of space had been home to a race that the galaxy preferred to forget. A species that had fought against overwhelming odds and lost everything in a war that nearly destroyed them completely. The asteroids that drifted through the sector were not natural formations. They were the remains of orbital stations, space cities, and defensive platforms. Millions of beings had once lived and worked in this system. They had built wonders of technology that rivaled anything the galaxy had ever seen. Then came the war. The records of that conflict were sealed in the deepest archives of the Council. Only the highest-ranking officials knew the complete truth about what had happened. How a proud and independent species had refused to bow to galactic authority, how they had fought back against impossible odds, how they had been driven from their homes and declared extinct. The galaxy had moved on. New species joined the Council. Trade routes were established through the empty sectors. The dead zones became useful as boundaries and buffer regions. No one spoke of the race that had once called these systems home, but the galaxy had made a mistake. In their rush to claim victory and divide the spoils, they had never confirmed the extinction they claimed. They had never sent ships to hunt down every last survivor. They had simply declared the war over and moved on to other matters. Deep in the darkness between dead stars, in the shadow of shattered worlds, something had survived. Not many, but enough. And those survivors had spent every day of the past 3 centuries preparing for this moment. They had learned from their defeat. They had studied their enemies. They had adapted and evolved and grown stronger in ways the galaxy could not imagine. They had built new ships, new weapons, new technologies that went far beyond anything their ancestors had possessed. Most importantly, they had never forgotten who had driven them into exile. They remembered every battle, every lost world, every fallen friend. They remembered the faces of their enemies and the sound of their voices declaring victory over the extinct human race. The galaxy thought humans were gone forever. But humans had simply been waiting for the right moment to return. They had used the galaxy's own arrogance against them, hiding in plain sight in the sectors marked as worthless and dead. Now, after 300 years of silence, they were almost ready. In the heart of Sector 7 Alpha, massive engines began to warm up. Weapon systems came online for the first time in decades. Computer networks that spanned multiple star systems activated and began calculating firing solutions. And in the command center of the largest ship ever built by human hands, Captain Sarah Chen looked at the reports from her scouts. Galactic Council patrols were following their usual patterns. The alien races had grown comfortable and lazy in their victory. They had no idea what was coming. Chen smiled as she gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. Begin final preparations. It's time to remind them that humans are very much alive. The Retribution's edge stretched 15 kilometers through the darkness of space, its black hull drinking in starlight like a wound in reality itself. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the main bridge, watching status displays that showed the heartbeat of humanity's greatest achievement. After 3 centuries of exile, their masterpiece was finally ready to reveal itself to the galaxy. Chen was tall and lean, with the pale skin common to those born in artificial environments. Her ancestors had fled Earth during the Great War, carrying nothing but their determination to survive. Now she commanded a vessel that could have destroyed the entire fleet that had driven them into exile. Final systems check all departments, she announced. Her voice carried clearly. Through the bridge's communication system. Engineering, reports all dark matter reactors online and stable, came the response from Chief Engineer Marcus. Webb. His voice held barely contained excitement. Gravitational manipulation drives are ready for full operation. We can bend space-time to our will, Captain, Chen nodded. The dark matter reactors were humanity's greatest breakthrough. While the galaxy still relied on fusion and antimatter, humans had learned to harness the very fabric of space itself. Their ships could appear and disappear at will, moving through dimensions that other races didn't even know existed. Weapon systems are fully armed and operational, reported Commander Lisa Park from the tactical station. All railgun batteries loaded with tungsten penetrators. Missile pods are filled with quantum warheads. Point defense grids are active. The weapon systems of the Retribution's edge would have puzzled galactic military experts. Where alien ships relied on energy weapons and plasma cannons, humans had perfected the art of kinetic warfare. Their railguns could accelerate metal slugs to significant fractions of light speed. When these projectiles hit enemy shields, they didn't just penetrate them. They punched through like the shields weren't even there. Medical Bay reports all enhancement procedures complete, said Dr. Rachel Torres from the medical deck. The crew is ready for combat operations. Chen touched the neural interface port behind her left ear. Every human on the ship carried similar modifications. The technology allowed them to link directly with their ship's computer systems, giving them reaction times that seemed impossible to other species. In combat, human crews could think and respond as fast as their machines. "Navigation confirms our position remains hidden," announced Lieutenant James Wright. "The holographic asteroid field is functioning perfectly. To any scanner, we look like floating rocks." The hiding place had been chosen carefully. Humanity had learned that the galaxy's own prejudices made the best camouflage. Everyone knew that dead sectors contained nothing valuable. No one bothered to look closely at asteroid fields that seemed ordinary and boring. "How many ships do we have ready for the first phase?" Chen asked. 12 dreadnoughts are in position across different sectors," replied Commander Park. "Each one represents a different aspect of our technological development. The Silent Reaper specializes in stealth operations. The Stormbringer carries our heaviest planet-killer weapons. The Endless Vigil serves as our mobile command fortress." Chen felt pride swell in her chest. Each ship represented decades of careful planning and construction. Humanity had taken the lessons of their defeat and turned them into advantages. They had studied every species in the galaxy, learning their weaknesses and blind spots. "What about the crew readiness reports?" she asked. Chief Webb's voice came through the speakers again. "All 50,000 personnel are at their stations. Genetic enhancements are stable. Cybernetic systems are functioning within normal parameters. The neural combat links are showing optimal synchronization. The crew of the Retribution's Edge represented the pinnacle of human evolution. 3 centuries of careful breeding and technological enhancement had created warriors unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were faster, stronger, and smarter than their ancestors. Most importantly, they had been raised from birth with a single purpose: to reclaim humanity's place among the stars. "Sir," called Lieutenant Wright from his navigation station, "long-range sensors are detecting movement at the sector boundary. A Galactic Council science vessel is approaching our territory." Chen moved to stand behind the sensor operator. On the main screen, a small ship appeared as a bright dot against the darkness. According to the identification codes, it was the Harmony of Minds, a research vessel from the Council's scientific division. "What's their course and intent?" Chen asked. "They appear to be investigating gravitational anomalies. Their sensors are actively scanning the area." Wright paused, studying his readings. "Captain, they're heading directly toward our position." Chen considered her options. For 300 years, humanity had remained hidden, preparing for this moment. They could have stayed hidden longer, waited for even better positioning. But the science vessel represented an opportunity that might not come again. "Analysis of the crew?" she requested. Commander Park checked her files. 12 different species aboard. Typical Council diversity initiative. They're scientists, not soldiers. The ship has minimal defensive capabilities. Chen walked to the center of the bridge, where a holographic display showed the tactical situation. The Harmony of Minds continued its approach, completely unaware that it was flying toward the most dangerous ship ever built. "This is the moment we've been waiting for," Chen announced to her bridge crew. "For 3 centuries, the galaxy has believed us extinct. They've grown comfortable in that belief. Today, we shatter their illusions." She touched her neural interface, linking her mind directly with the ship's main computer. Information flowed through her consciousness at the speed of thought. Fleet positions, weapon status, communication networks, everything was at her mental fingertips. "Send a message to all ships in the network," she ordered. "Begin Phase 1. The silence is broken." Across multiple star systems, human dreadnoughts received the signal. Ships that had waited in darkness for generations began to power up their engines and charge their weapons. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's exile had only made them stronger. "Take us to the edge of the sensor shadow," Chen commanded. "Let them see what they've awakened." The Retribution's Edge began to move, its massive bulk sliding through space with surprising grace. The gravitational manipulation drives bent reality around the ship, allowing it to accelerate without the limitations that bound other vessels. "Captain," reported Wright, "the science vessel has detected our gravitational signature. They're trying to identify us," Chen smiled. The expression was cold and predatory. "Open a communication channel." It's time they heard a voice they thought was silenced forever. The bridge fell silent as the communication link activated. Somewhere ahead of them, alien scientists were about to receive the shock of their lives. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Sovereignty Fleet. She spoke into the void. You are trespassing in claimed territory. You have 30 seconds to withdraw. The response came quickly, filled with confusion and disbelief. This is Captain Tyrell of the Harmony of Minds. There must be some mistake. Humans are extinct? This sector is unclaimed space. Chen's smile grew wider. Human extinction was greatly exaggerated. As for this sector being unclaimed, you're about to learn how wrong you are. The research vessel Harmony of Minds drifted peacefully through space, its crew completely focused on their scientific mission. Dr. Milani, a crystalline being from the Etherian homeworld, studied the readings from her gravitational sensors with growing excitement. The data suggested they had discovered something revolutionary about dark matter manipulation. Captain Tyrell, she called across the bridge, her voice creating musical tones as it passed through her crystal matrix body. These readings are unprecedented. Whatever is causing these gravitational waves must be incredibly advanced. Captain Tyrell, a dignified member of the aquatic cetacean species, floated in his specialized command tank. His large eyes showed the calm intelligence that made his people excellent explorers and diplomats. How advanced are we talking about, Doctor? The technology would have to be centuries ahead of anything we currently understand, Milani replied. The energy requirements alone should be impossible to achieve. Around the bridge, 12 different species worked together in perfect harmony. This was the pride of galactic civilization, beings from across known space cooperating in the pursuit of knowledge. There were no weapons on the ship, no soldiers, no thoughts of violence. The Harmony of Minds represented everything the Galactic Council stood for. Sir, called the sensor operator, a young Vraxian named Kelsa. I'm detecting a massive gravitational disturbance approaching our position. Captain Tyrell turned his attention to the main display. Natural phenomenon? No, sir. The signature is artificial. Something big is moving toward us. The bridge crew watched in growing amazement as their sensors registered the approaching object. The readings made no sense. The gravitational signature suggested something the size of a small moon, but visual scans showed only empty space. Then reality tore open in front of them. The Retribution's edge phased into normal space like a nightmare emerging from a dream. The massive vessel materialized out of nothing, its 15-kilometer hull blotting out the stars behind it. The ship's surface seemed to absorb light itself, making it appear as a dark wound against the cosmic background. Panic erupted across the bridge of the Harmony of Minds. The research vessel was large by galactic standards, but compared to the human dreadnought, it looked like a minnow facing a whale. The alien ship was 50 times larger than their own vessel. By the depths, whispered Captain Tyrell. What is that thing? Unknown vessel, transmitted Kelsa on all standard frequencies. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. The response came in perfect galactic standard, but spoken with an accent that chilled every being on the bridge. It was an accent from the history books, from the forbidden archives, from a species that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Sovereignty Fleet. You are trespassing in claimed territory. You have 30 seconds to withdraw. Captain Tyrell felt his blood turn to ice in his veins. Humans were extinct. Everyone knew that. The war had ended 3 centuries ago with the complete destruction of their species. The history books were clear on this point. This is Captain Tyrell of the Galactic Council research vessel Harmony of Minds, he transmitted back. There must be some mistake. Humans are extinct. This sector is unclaimed space. The human's voice came back cold and certain. Human extinction was greatly exaggerated. As for this sector being unclaimed, you're about to learn how wrong you are. Captain, whispered Dr. Milani, we need to retreat immediately. If humans have survived, if they've built something like this. Captain Tyrell was already reaching for the retreat command when the human spoke again. You have 10 seconds to begin withdrawal. Your time is running out. We're leaving, Tyrell transmitted quickly. We had no knowledge of your presence here. This is a peaceful scientific mission. Your peaceful missions ended the moment you decided our species should be extinct, came the reply. You have 5 seconds. Terror filled the bridge as the crew realized their danger. The Harmony of Minds was a research vessel, not a warship. They had no shields capable of stopping military weapons, no armor that could protect them from a true attack. Emergency jump, ordered Captain Tyrell. Get us out of here now. The navigation officer's tentacles flew across his controls. "Jump drive is charging, sir. 30 seconds to activation." "You don't have 30 seconds," said the human voice. The attack came without warning and without mercy. The Retribution's edge fired a single railgun slug. A tungsten rod accelerated to 30% of light speed. The projectile was no larger than a person, but it carried more kinetic energy than the fusion bombs that powered cities. The slug punched through the harmony of minds like it was made of paper. The research vessel's shields didn't even slow it down. The projectile passed completely through the ship, leaving a perfectly round hole that vented atmosphere and crew into space. Emergency alarms screamed across the bridge as the ship began to tear itself apart. The railgun slug had passed through 3 decks, destroying critical systems and killing dozens of crew members instantly. "Hull breach on decks 4, 5, and 6, reported the damage control officer. "Life support is failing. We're losing atmosphere." Captain Terrell fought to keep his command tank stable as the ship shook around him. "Emergency beacon," he ordered. "Send a distress signal to Galactic Command." "Signal away, sir," confirmed the communications officer. But before the message could fully transmit, the human ship fired again. This time, multiple railgun slugs struck the harmony of minds from different angles. The research vessel came apart like a fragile toy, its hull splitting open and spilling its contents into the void. Captain Terrell had just enough time to activate the emergency message beacon before his command tank shattered. The last thing he saw was the dark bulk of the human warship hanging in space, completely undamaged and utterly terrifying. The distress signal raced toward Galactic Council headquarters at the speed of light. The message was fragmentary, broken by the destruction of the ship's transmitter, but enough survived to carry the impossible news. "Emergency transmission from research vessel Harmony of Minds," the message began. "Under attack by unknown vessel. Impossible technology. Claims to be human. Ship destroyed. Request immediate military response." At Galactic Command, the duty officer stared at the message in disbelief. Humans were extinct. Everyone knew that. But the sensor readings attached to the distress signal showed something that made no sense. A ship larger than anything in the Council fleet, armed with weapons that ignored standard shielding. Within minutes, emergency alarms were sounding throughout the command center. Admiral Korvax, Supreme Commander of the Galactic Defense Fleet, was awakened in his quarters and briefed on the situation. "Human ship," the Admiral growled. "Impossible. Send a patrol squadron to investigate." "Sir," replied his aide, "the sensor readings suggest we may need more than a patrol squadron." Admiral Korvax studied the data from the destroyed research vessel. The energy signatures made no sense. The gravitational readings were impossible. The size estimates had to be wrong. "Very well," he decided. "Alert the first battle fleet. If someone is pretending to be human, we'll show them what happened to the real humans." Meanwhile, in the darkness of Sector 7 Alpha, Captain Chen watched the last pieces of the Harmony of Minds drift away into space. She felt no satisfaction in the destruction, only the cold certainty that this was just the beginning. "Signal sent and received," reported her communications officer. "Galactic Command is mobilizing a response fleet." Chen nodded. "How long until they arrive?" "Based on their standard deployment patterns, approximately 6 hours." "Perfect. That gives us time to prepare the welcome party." Chen turned to address her bridge crew. "Signal all ships in the network. Phase 2 begins when the Council fleet arrives. It's time to show the galaxy what 3 centuries of preparation have accomplished." The Retribution's edge began to fade back into the dimensions between space, vanishing from normal sensors. But 11 more ships just like it remained hidden throughout the sector, waiting for the Galactic Council to make their biggest mistake in 300 years. Admiral Korvax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Galactic Unity, and watched the largest fleet in Council history prepare for battle. Over 200 warships from 8 different species had answered his call, their combined firepower capable of turning entire star systems into cosmic dust. The Admiral was a Kralthan, a warrior species known throughout the galaxy for their military expertise. His gray skin bore the ritual scars of countless battles, and his forearms moved with practiced efficiency as he reviewed deployment orders. In his 60 years of service, he had never faced an enemy that couldn't be overwhelmed by superior numbers and firepower. "Final fleet count." "Admiral," reported his aide, Commander Voss. 212 vessels. 18 dreadnoughts, 47 cruisers, 89 destroyers, and 58 support ships. Korvax nodded with satisfaction. No force in galactic history had ever assembled this much military power in one place. Whatever was hiding in Sector 7 Alpha would be crushed beneath the weight of overwhelming force. Species representation? He asked. All major council races have contributed ships, Voss replied. Vraxian fast attack squadrons, Cetacean heavy cruisers, Etherian stealth vessels, and our own Kralthan battle groups. The fleet represents the finest military technology from across known space. The Admiral studied the tactical display that showed his fleet's formation. Each species contributed their unique strengths to the overall battle plan. The Vraxians would provide speed and mobility. The Cetaceans brought their powerful energy weapons. The Etherians offered advanced sensor technology. His own Kralthan warriors would serve as the unstoppable spear point of the attack. Admiral, called the sensor operator, we're approaching the boundary of Sector 7 Alpha. No contacts detected yet. Korvax was not surprised. His intelligence report suggested that the unknown vessel was using some form of advanced stealth technology. But no stealth system could hide from the combined sensor arrays of 200 ships. Whatever was out there would be found and destroyed. Send a general transmission on all frequencies, he ordered. This is Admiral Korvax of the Galactic Defense Fleet. You are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender immediately and you will be treated according to the laws of war. The response came from directly ahead of the fleet, but the sensors still showed empty space. The voice was human, speaking with that impossible accent from a species that should have been extinct for 3 centuries. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Sovereignty Fleet. Admiral Korvax, your people were present at the Battle of Terra Prime. You watched my homeworld burn from orbit. I remember you. The words hit Korvax like a physical blow. The Battle of Terra Prime had been the final engagement of the human war. He had been a young captain then, commanding a single destroyer in the massive fleet that had broken human resistance forever. But the humans had all died in that battle. There were no survivors. Impossible, he transmitted back. All humans died at Terra Prime. I was there. I watched your ships burn. Not all of us died, Admiral. Some of us learned from our defeat. Some of us remembered our enemies and spent 300 years preparing for this moment. Before Korvax could respond, reality began to tear open around his fleet. Space itself seemed to fold and twist as massive shapes emerged from dimensions that shouldn't exist. One by one, 12 human dreadnoughts phased into normal space, each one dwarfing the largest ships in the Council fleet. The bridge of the galactic unity erupted in chaos as sensor alarms screamed warnings. The human ships were massive beyond comprehension, their dark hulls absorbing scanner beams like black holes. Worse, they had appeared at perfect tactical positions, surrounding the Council fleet in a formation that would allow them to concentrate fire from multiple angles. Impossible, whispered Commander Voss. Ships that size should be unable to maneuver. The power requirements alone. Admiral Korvax stared at the tactical display in growing horror. Each human vessel was easily 5 times larger than his own flagship. The combined mass of the human fleet exceeded his entire armada. But size wasn't everything in space combat. Superior numbers and tactics could overcome raw power. All ships, he broadcast on the fleet command frequency, engage targets of opportunity. Concentrate fire on the lead vessel. The Council fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams lanced through space, plasma cannons discharged their fury, and missile salvos streaked toward the human ships. For a moment, the darkness between stars blazed with the light of artificial suns as enough firepower to crack planets hammered against the enemy vessels. The human ships absorbed the attack without even slowing down. Their hulls seemed to drink in the energy weapons like water, while the plasma cannons simply splashed harmlessly against their armor. Even the most powerful missiles exploded uselessly against defensive systems that the Council had never seen before. No effect, reported the weapons officer. Our weapons aren't even scratching their hulls. Then the humans fired back. The Silent Reaper launched a spread of weapons that defied understanding. Instead of energy beams or plasma bolts, the human ship fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Railgun slugs accelerated to significant fractions of light speed punched through. Council ships like arrows through paper, the Vraxian destroyer Swift Strike, simply ceased to exist as a tungsten rod traveling. At 30% of light speed passed completely through its hull. The projectile carried so much kinetic energy that it vaporized everything it touched, leaving only expanding plasma where the ship had been. But the railguns were only the beginning. The Stormbringer fired weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of physics entirely. Quantum torpedoes phased through shield generators without triggering them, then exploded inside enemy hulls. Matter-antimatter warheads created miniature suns that consumed everything within kilometers of their detonation points. Evasive maneuvers, ordered Admiral Korvax, but his ships were too close together and moving too slowly. The humans had positioned themselves perfectly, creating kill zones that overlapped and reinforced each other. The endless vigil deployed thousands of small craft that moved with impossible speed and agility. At first, the council officers thought they were fighters with incredibly skilled pilots. Then they realized the truth. These were artificial intelligences, computer programs that could think and react faster than any living being. The AI drones swarmed through the council fleet like angry hornets. They were too small for the big guns to target effectively, but their weapons were perfectly designed to exploit weak points in enemy defenses. They slipped through shield gaps, targeted sensor arrays, and disabled weapon systems with surgical precision. "Admiral," called Commander Voss, "we're losing ships faster than we can count them. The formation is breaking apart." Korvax watched his proud fleet die around him. Ships that had served the Council for decades were being torn apart by weapons they couldn't understand or defend against. The humans weren't just winning, they were demonstrating complete technological superiority. A transmission came from the human admiral. "Are you beginning to understand, Korvax? This is what 3 centuries of exile accomplished. While you grew fat and comfortable, we evolved beyond your comprehension." "How?" the admiral demanded. "How did you survive? How did you build this?" "We learned from our mistakes," Chen replied. "At Terra Prime, we tried to fight you on your terms with your rules. We lost because we played your game. This time we wrote our own rules." The human ships began to change formation, moving with fluid grace that seemed impossible for vessels of their size. They weren't just fighting, they were dancing through space. Their movements coordinated by computer networks that spanned multiple star systems. "Admiral," reported his communications officer, "we're receiving surrender requests from 17 ships. The outer squadrons are requesting permission to retreat." Korvax felt his world crumbling around him. The largest fleet in galactic history was being destroyed by 12 ships. Ships built by a species that was supposed to be extinct. "Retreat," he ordered, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. "All ships, emergency jump. Get us out of here," but the humans weren't finished. As the surviving council ships tried to escape, the Retribution's Edge broadcast a message on all frequencies that would be heard across the galaxy. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen, speaking to the entire Galactic Council. For 300 years you believed humanity was extinct. You divided our worlds among yourselves and forgot we ever existed. Today you learn the price of that assumption." The transmission continued as the broken remnants of Korvax's fleet limped away from the battlefield. "Humanity has returned to claim what was stolen from us. We want 30 star systems that belong to our original colonies. We want reparations for 3 centuries of denied existence. And we want the galaxy to remember that when humans set their minds to something, we don't just succeed, we dominate." In the aftermath of the battle, only 63 ships remained from the Council's mighty fleet. Admiral Korvax sat in his damaged command chair and stared at the tactical display, showing the positions of the human vessels. They hadn't pursued the retreating fleet, they didn't need to. The message had been delivered with perfect clarity. "Sir," said Commander Voss quietly, "what do we tell the Council?" The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 6 straight days, and tempers were reaching dangerous levels. Representatives from dozens of species filled the great chamber, their voices raised in arguments that echoed off the crystal walls. The news from Sector 7 Alpha had shattered everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. Chancellor Marin, an ancient Etherian whose crystal body had seen over 3 centuries of galactic politics, called for order with a tone that cut through the chaos. Her species had been the primary architects of the peace that followed the human war, and the weight of that history pressed heavily on her now. "The facts are simple," she announced, her crystalline voice resonating through the chamber. "A human fleet has destroyed the largest military force in our history. They have demanded territory and reparations, and our intelligence suggests this is only the beginning." A roar of angry voices erupted from the assembly. The Vraxian representative, General Thax, rose to his full height and slammed his clawed hand on his speaking podium. We cannot negotiate with extinct species that refuse to stay dead. The humans were defeated once. They can be defeated again. With what ships? Demanded Admiral Korvax from his position in the Kralthan section. The surviving commander of the Sector 7 disaster looked like he had aged decades in the past week. I lost 149 vessels to 12 human ships. They have technology we can't match and weapons we can't defend against. The Cetacean ambassador, Deep Singer Coral, floated in her specialized tank as she addressed the assembly. Perhaps we should consider their demands. 30 star system seems like a small price to pay for peace. A small price? General Thax turned his yellow eyes toward the aquatic diplomat. Those systems contain over 40 billion citizens and resources worth more than most species' entire economies. We cannot simply hand them over to terrorists. Chancellor Marin raised her hand for silence. The assembly gradually quieted, though anger still crackled through the air like electricity. We have received new intelligence that makes this situation far more serious than we first understood. Director Kess, please present your findings. The head of Galactic Intelligence, a gray-skinned being whose species specialized in information gathering, activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. The image showed a star map with dozens of sectors highlighted in red. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected energy signatures in 57 sectors, previously classified as dead zones. Director Kess reported. The signatures match those recorded during the Sector 7 incident. We believe each sector contains at least one human facility, possibly more. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. 57 sectors meant potentially hundreds of human ships hidden throughout the galaxy. The 12 vessels that had destroyed Admiral Korvax's fleet were just the beginning. Impossible, whispered the Vraxian general. How could they hide for 3 centuries without us detecting them? By using our own prejudices against us, Kess replied. Dead sectors were marked as worthless and dangerous. No one bothered to investigate them thoroughly. We marked them on our charts and forgot about them, never realizing that humanity was using them as perfect hiding places. The Etherian Chancellor studied the star map with growing dread. The highlighted sectors formed a network that spanned the entire galaxy. If the humans had been building ships and weapons in all of them for 300 years, the size of their fleet could be beyond calculation. What are our options? She asked. Admiral Korvax stood slowly, his scarred face showing the weight of his defeat. Military action is impossible. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their ships are faster, stronger, and better armed than anything we can field. A direct assault would be suicide. Then we surrender, demanded the Kralthan representative, Warchief Brutok. The proud races of the galaxy bow to a species we thought was extinct? Before anyone could answer, an alarm began sounding throughout the chamber. The massive view screen at the front of the assembly hall activated, showing the space around the council headquarters station. A single human ship materialized out of nowhere, its dark hull reflecting the light of the system's star. Chancellor Marin recognized the vessel from the intelligence reports. It was the Stormbringer, one of the ships that had participated in the Sector 7 massacre. The ship was enormous, easily dwarfing the space station that housed the galactic government. A communication request appeared on the display. With trembling hands, the Chancellor accepted the transmission. The image of Admiral Sarah Chen appeared on the screen, her pale face calm and determined. Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, Chen began. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Sovereignty Fleet. I bring greetings from the human race, a species you declared extinct, but who very much survived. The chamber erupted in whispers and gasps. This was the first time any of them had seen a living human since the end of the war 3 centuries ago. Chen looked remarkably similar to the historical records, but there was something different about her eyes. They held a coldness that spoke of generations raised in exile and shaped by the desire for revenge. You have ignored our initial demands, Chen continued. Perhaps a demonstration will help you understand the seriousness of our position. The view screen split to show long-range sensors detecting something at the edge of the star system. Another human ship was approaching, the massive Stormbringer that specialized in planetary destruction. The vessel moved toward a barren world on the system's outer edge, a planet that had been strip-mined centuries ago and left as a lifeless rock. The planet Kethros IV has no current inhabitants, Chen explained. It will serve as our demonstration. The Stormbringer took position in orbit around the dead world. Its weapon ports opened to reveal devices that hurt to look at directly. Energy readings spiked beyond the measurement capability of the Council's sensors. This is our singularity cannon, Chen announced. It collapses matter at the quantum level, creating a controlled black hole that consumes itself after achieving the desired effect. The weapon fired. A beam of absolute darkness struck the planet's surface. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the world began to crack like an egg. Fissures of brilliant light appeared across the surface as the planet's core was exposed to space. The cracks spread and widened until the entire world split apart in a display of destruction that could be seen across multiple star systems. But the humans weren't finished. As the planet broke apart, the debris began to collapse inward, drawn by artificial gravity fields generated by the Stormbringer. The pieces of the world compressed and heated until they formed a new star, a miniature sun that blazed with nuclear fire where a planet had existed moments before. The Galactic Council chamber was completely silent. Representatives stared at the view screen in horrified fascination as the artificial star burned in the darkness. The humans had just demonstrated the power to destroy worlds and create suns. This technology has been tested on over 40 uninhabited worlds, Chen continued calmly. We can create stars, destroy planets, or reshape entire solar systems according to our needs. The question is whether the Galaxy Council wishes to experience these capabilities as an enemy, or as a neighbor. Chancellor Marin found her voice first. What do you want from us? Our demands remain the same. 30 star systems that belong to humanity's original colonies, reparations for 3 centuries of denied existence, and formal recognition of the human sovereignty as an equal power in galactic affairs. And if we refuse? Asked War Chief Brutok, though his voice lacked its earlier aggression. Chen's smile was cold and predatory. Then you will learn why humans are called the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We have ships hidden in dozens of systems. We know the location of every military base, every shipyard, every population center. If the Council chooses war, we will demonstrate why extinction was the wrong punishment for humanity. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. Outside the view screen, the artificial star continued to burn, a constant reminder of human power. 3 days later, the Galactic Council voted to accept humanity's demands. The vote was unanimous. 6 months after that historic decision, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the Retribution's Edge and watched the blue-green world spinning slowly below. Earth, humanity's birth world, lost for 3 centuries and now reclaimed at last. The planet showed signs of careful terraforming and reconstruction. Human civilians had returned to walk on soil their ancestors thought lost forever. Cities were rising from the ashes of ancient ruins. Children who had been born in the darkness between stars were playing in sunlight for the first time in their lives. Admiral, called her aide. Commander Parks, we're receiving reports from across human space. All 30 systems are now under our control. The Council has begun transferring the agreed reparations. Several alien species have requested formal alliance with the human sovereignty. Chen nodded without taking her eyes off Earth. And the Vraxian Empire? War Chief Brutok has mobilized their entire fleet. He's calling it the final war and claims Vraxian honor demands they fight regardless of the odds. How many ships? Intelligence estimates over 3,000 vessels.